Hey, web designers, if you've been feeling some type of way about how AI search is making it so that less people are coming to your clients' websites, and you want to make sure that you're staying ahead, relevant, and profitable, then head on over to simplyprofitabledesigner.com and grab your free ticket to my 10th annual Simply Profitable Designer Summit, where I've invited over 20 of my favorite web design, conversion rate, SEO, and AEO experts to hang out with us the week of March 16th and share their best strategies for delivering experiences that deliver results clients are happy to pay for. So just go to simplyprofitabledesigner.com and enter your name and email address to get your free ticket. And special thanks to the sponsors of our 10th annual Simply Profitable Designer Summit, $1 Million Website, which exists to free web designers from the grind of endless custom projects and the burnout that comes with them. $1 Million Websites shows you how to build once, sell forever, and create a business that grows without your calendar so you can earn more, work less, and finally run the kind of creative, profitable business you always imagined. Learn more at $1 million websitesystem.com. Web Designer Anthology, a structured design ecosystem built to empower modern web designers through curated systems, strategic templates, and conversion-backed frameworks. Web Designer Anthology helps designers move from scattered creativity to elevated execution with clarity and control. You can learn more about Web Designer Anthology at webdesigneranthology.com. And last but not least, the Web Designer Academy, where we help women web designers close the gap between their effort and their income with simple yet powerful pricing and sales strategies that actually feel good to use. So the Simply Profitable Designer Summit starts Monday, March 16th, and it is totally free to attend. So grab your free ticket at simplyprofitabledesigner.com. That's simplyprofitabledesigner.com. Welcome to the Profitable Web Designer Podcast, the place where women web designers come to raise their prices, book higher paying projects, and run their web design businesses without overwhelm and burnout. I'm your host, Shannon Mattern, pricing strategist and founder of the Web Designer Academy, where you're just one proposal away from the money you truly deserve to be making. And I'm here to help you build a web design business that feels as good on the inside as it looks on the outside. So let's go ahead and dive into this week's episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Profitable Web Designer Podcast. And I am joined again today by my friend, Sarah Noked, who is the founder of OBM School, where she trains service providers to become skilled online business managers and also leads an agency that helps entrepreneurs like you find the operational support you need to grow your businesses with confidence and clarity. So Sarah, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Shannon. It is always so much fun to jam here with you. And you did such a nice job introducing me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, I used the pre-written bio that your team submitted.
Oh, good.
Like a well-oiled machine over there at the OBM School. So yeah, thank them for setting you up so beautifully.
I shall, yes.
So you have been on the show before, but we've been friends for a long time. You were in episode 149, where we talked about what it could look like for a web designer to bring an OBM onto their business with a whole lot of other things. So we're definitely going to talk more about that today. But for our listeners who are new to the show and maybe didn't hear that episode, can you tell them a little bit more about you and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am probably like many of our listeners. I started off back in 2009. Oh my God, a very, very long time. But I just wanted to work from home. I wanted to give my kids the stay-at-home mom feel. Yeah. And I was like, I ain't going to be able to do this in corporate. So much like many listeners here, I set off to take my transferable corporate skills into being an online business manager. And it just started off as like a means to an end. And over time, just scaled beautifully into the certification program, into training online business managers, and into really scaling my agency to match accredited OBMs with their ideal clients, which tend to be web developers as well, and other agencies, marketing agencies that are serving multiple clients. So that's been my experience in the online space. And God, it feels like I just started doing this yesterday.
And we met, I don't know how we met when I was still doing the free 5-day website challenge, when I was still teaching web designers like how to DIY their websites. And so I don't even remember how we met. One of us pitched the other one or something happened and
We
we
must
met
have
and
been we're for sure introduced by some lovely person that we have in contact, because I'm a very behind the scenes, like pretty introverted person. I don't really socialize. So if it was an intro, it had to be like a very like, you guys are going to hit it off. And I know we've hit it off. We've been hitting it off for the last decade.
yeah, I'm the same way. Like I am not a very like extroverted social person. So 1,000%, someone was like, you two need to meet. And we speak at least once a year. Sometimes
Yeah.
we just catch up to catch up. Sometimes we do a podcast interview. You have really helped me this year in terms of like shifting how I've been running my team and the different roles and like just helping me take things like get my mind around even just what I could take off my plate and taking things off my plate and helping leverage Erica, our client success coordinator, who's co-hosts some of these episodes with me in a different way. So yeah, for like those scrappy solopreneurs like me who are listening to this, who are like, oh, it's all on me. I know
You
how
are
I'm
not
the
a
one that
scrappy
I built the
solopreneur.
systems.
That's where your problems start, by calling yourself a scrappy solopreneur. You have had a team all the years I've
I
known
know.
you, and you have had different iterations of your team, which is so
Mhm.
normal. And sometimes, like, I love, this is my favorite expression to date. It's hard to see the label from inside the
Yes.
bottle, and I think that this is really true for very seasoned entrepreneurs who are used to doing things a certain way, or type A control freaks like you and I, who really like things to be done a certain way, obsess over the tech and the automations and the use of AI and all of these things. I think sometimes we like to make it more difficult than it is, or for whatever reason, we think that we are one of the biggest problems that I find with people who want to hire an OBM is that they don't think that they can delegate, or they're not sure what to delegate, or they think that only they are the person in their business to do X, Y, and Z. So when you're scaling and when you're bringing on this kind of level of support, whether you are bringing on an OBM in your web design business to interface with your clients, manage projects, it's going to feel a little bit outside your comfort zone. But I think that's a good sign.
Yeah, it's like the discomfort of growth. And I think that that has been my biggest challenge. And,
Mhm.
how we do anything is how we do everything. It shows up here, it shows up in other places where
That is so
I'm
true.
like hyper responsibility for like, oh, this is my responsibility to do these things in the business.
Yeah.
And it's my responsibility to take care of everybody else and make sure everybody else has exactly what they need to like do their job. And it's really something that I'm dismantling is like, what is my own and where am I disempowering other people when I'm taking on responsibility for things that are not mine?
Yeah. That's why I really love jamming with you on business strategy. And that is why I think that your team is so lucky to be working with you, because you're great. You're great. And you constantly are pushing the envelope in your business. And you have to be bold and brave to be an entrepreneur. I don't care why you got started. We all have our different whys for getting started, but ultimately, what makes you successful is your grit and your ability to think
Yeah.
outside the box and constantly push yourself outside of your comfort zone. So I think when I'm outside of my comfort zone, or something feels like icky, whether that be because I'm hiring someone new or integrating a new platform or whatever, like I'm on to something, this is a good sign for me.
Yeah, for sure. I was thinking about you because I was on a coaching call with one of my private coaching clients, and she was just like, I am so overwhelmed. She's like, I keep booking new clients. The
Look at the
problems of
problems to
success,
have. These
right?
are the problems to
She's
have.
like, I keep getting people saying yes and wanting to pay me money. And then she's like, but I am so overwhelmed right now because, like, when is it all going to get done? And how am I going to have the capacity to do all of this? And that's a conversation that I'm having more and more with people. where they're like, I just need systems and processes. I just need systems. Like, it doesn't even occur to them that maybe they don't have to be the one
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
do all of the things. So, what advice would you give to her, or what is your thought about that situation?
Well, I mean, that is like such a common situation that I'm familiar with. And unfortunately, when entrepreneurs get themselves into that situation, the result is never good. Like something's got to give, like how you were saying, how it shows up in all these different areas. Like your health will sacrifice, your family will hate you. There's all these things that result. So you get to a point where you can take on more clients and take on more clients, but eventually something's got to give. So either your client experience will be sacrificed, or your onboarding will be sacrificed, or your ability to deliver things on time will be sacrificed. And it will ultimately affect and impact your revenue, your profitability. So if you are scaling and you're in this position where you are bringing on clients, like it's a good problems to have. You're bringing on lots of clients. You have to take a step back to take a step forward as an entrepreneur. And sometimes this is a really painful thing because you got to slow down to speed up. You have to slow down to think about, okay, I'm moving 100 miles an hour. And that's why she's really lucky, because she has you as her coach, because it's sometimes very hard when you're in that situation to see it for what it is and be like, oh, maybe if I hire an OBM or a project manager to like ease my pain, I can continue to take on clients. And maybe if I bring on an OBM to manage like the client care and the deliverables and make sure my clients are happy, well, then I can actually just focus on doing what I love, which is probably just, I don't know, what do web designers love? Like, I mean, you guys,
They love talking to the client, coming up with the strategy, maybe some pointing and clicking and doing of the thing, but really they love the ideation of the building of the thing. What I hear is they're like, I just want to come up with the ideas and be the creative director and the solution architect, but I don't want to build the thing. I don't want to like manage any of the, I want to talk to the client when it's time to talk to the client, and then have someone else say, okay, like build the thing, do the thing.
absolutely. And I think that that is something that it's really hard when you're in that position, because on one hand, you've grown to this level of success that you've always wanted for yourself. But then when you get there, you're like in this golden cage of like, great, I'm making money. I have clients, check, 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 check. But now my health is being sacrificed. I can't go to that yoga class that I love to do. I haven't been outside for days. And when was the last time I ate a home cooked meal? So
Mm-hmm.
you have to ask yourself the question, like, what is entrepreneurship? What does that mean to me? Does it mean being stretched thin? Or does it mean scaling? Like, it's so ironic because when I started my business, I was that solopreneur life OBM. I was like, I don't need anybody. I can do all these things myself, blah, blah, blah. And after a couple of years, I realized there are things that I don't like doing. There are things that I'm not good at. And as I'm working in all of these different businesses and seeing all of this range of VAs and types of different people you can hire onto teams, I was like, okay, like there's room here for me to delegate. And I think that when I'm thinking about your particular web developers and web designers, some of the first things that can come off of your plate are the things that are already recurring in your business. So maybe it's how you report to your client, or maybe it's your onboarding process. These are things that are easily delegatable that can probably save you 2 or 3 hours in your week. So that begs the question, what's another 10 hours a month for you? Where can that get you? Is it another project? Is it landing another client? Is it having some free time for your family that you haven't had in a while? Like, so you have to think about that opportunity cost, that investment. What is that going to look like for you? And what are some of the things you can start to get off of your plate that are recurring?
Yeah. I mean, as you're saying that, the thing that I'm thinking is this catch 22 that I hear from the women that I work with. And I've thought this way myself too, where it's just like, okay, but how am I going to make sure that I can pay for this person? And so it's this rock hard place, right? Where they're like, I'm at my max capacity. I'm maybe not even paying myself what I should be paying myself right now. I'm going to take on a commitment to bring someone on. And what if I am not able to bring in more clients or revenue or all of that? And so they stay stuck and stay in this place where they just keep burning out and spinning their wheels. And it's almost like they're used to it, like feeling as bad as they're just like, well, I know this bad. Like
Well,
this
I mean,
bad. I'm
as
used
an
to this
entrepreneur, we
discomfort.
know we like pain, right? That's why we decided to become entrepreneurs.
Yeah. So it's like the willingness to like take the risk of like bringing that on feels more scary than the pain of like staying where you are in the mess. And so I'm just curious what your thoughts are about that because you did say like you're going to have to slow down to speed up.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I think first off, it's biology, right? So like our physiology wants us to stay in the same place because over there with the team is scary and outside of our comfort zone. So there's this biological factor that wants to keep you in the same place. And then there's the resourceful you of like, okay, I want to bring on an OBM. I need to plan for this. And the other thing too is that scaling as a web designer, it starts with having different contractors, right? So maybe you've gone and you've hired that other developer to support you, or you have a graphic designer in your back pocket or a copywriter or whatever that looks like. So you're already working with contractors likely from the get-go. So the OBM isn't the first person you hire. You hire the trades that are going to support you on getting the work done. And even with that, you have systems around that. So how does the graphic designer deliver the graphics to you? How do you share passwords? How do you deliver stuff to your clients? So there's a lot of systems that you build, hopefully, around delegating those pieces. And then when it comes to, okay, now I want like a client concierge for my business. I want to hire an OBM that can really manage my clients and manage the reporting and manage the projects. And you look at it like an investment, you're like, okay, well, the typical investment to work with an OBM is 3 months. And most likely your OBM, especially if they've gone through my OBM school or they are accredited OBM or certified, they're likely going to charge around $2,000 a month for about a 30-hour retainer, something like that. And that's what I recommend. So if you're working with an OBM, it's $2,000 a month for a minimum of 3 months. That's a $6,000 investment. Like I know how much your web developers charge for projects. So,
Yeah.
it's not even a whole project, right? So,
Right.
I think you have to look at it with a reasonable frame of mind of like, okay, I'm not taking the shirt off my back to bring on
Right.
this manager. But if I bring on this manager and I don't take the shirt off my back, then that means I need to bring in another client or I
Mhm.
need to sell X amount of whatever. So a lot of the times when we work with coaches and maybe some different kinds of service professionals online, I find that sometimes with this newfound time freedom that we afford our clients as online business managers, instead of going and using their time wisely or really focusing on the things that only they could do in their business, they just completely go MIA or they take some time off because they've probably been really burnt out. And like, I understand why they do that. When you are scaling and you are investing, you're investing in an OBM. And then with that in mind, you need to now focus your efforts on getting more clients or increasing your pricing. So I think you have to also have a little bit of faith in the universe, that the
Yeah.
universe has got your back. I mean, it is not easy to scale. It's not easy. And also too, like, so you bring on an OBM for 3 months and maybe they put some systems in place. Maybe they automate some of the stuff you're doing. Maybe they help to further refine how your current team operates. It doesn't need to be like a off into the sunset for all eternity. Like OBMs come in on projects to set up and streamline different things. I don't know what tool your clients typically use for managing clients, but I imagine it's like Dubsado or Go High Level, something like that, right? OBMs
Dubsado,
can
Moxie, Go High
Moxie,
Level,
even as we're
HoneyBook.
saying, there's like the 800 other tools just went on the market, but there's plenty of
Yes.
different CRMs and project management tools. OBMs can help you with your tech stack. And there's no shame in having a hodgepodge tech stack as a web developer. And even some of the OBMs I train don't invest enough time in their own tech and systems.
Yeah, wouldn't it be lovely for it to not be you? This is the thing that web designers do because we're so techy, because we
So
can figure
techy.
anything out. We're
Mhm.
just like, oh, it does not even occur to us that someone else could come in and build our
Oh,
tech stack.
oh, I love that you're bringing this up, Shannon, because it really is a mindset. It
Hmm.
really is a mindset. I don't think, and I don't want to say like women or men, but I think as women, I know I'm like this. Like I was like solopreneur for life. I can do everything. I don't need anybody. But then like at a certain point, I'm like, wait, but I really would like to go to that morning yoga class, or
Uh-huh.
maybe I should bring a mentor into my community to support me training my OBM. And also when you have some time away from your business, you can think creatively about what you're doing. So, it's this catch 22 slash mind F, whatever you want to fill the blanks in there. But scaling is not easy. And that's why you really do need a trusted partner who has scaled businesses before, like an
Hmm.
OBM.
Yeah. When you say the word scale over and over, what does scale mean to you in terms of a service
Mm.
based business?
Oh, that's so good, Shannon. No one's ever asked me that. How did you say scale a lot? To me, it's scaling yourself out of your business. That's how
Ah,
I look at that.
I love that definition
Yeah.
because when I think of scale, and this might just be my lens of like I sell a online program one to many. And so when I'm thinking scale, I'm thinking like maximizing the number of people coming through the door. And I
Mm-hmm.
think we're kind of talking about the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a nuance of what you're saying here is that it's not scaling the customers, it's scaling the operations.
Yes. Yes. It is
Tell me more
absolutely.
about that.
Oh, I love this. I've never really, when I do discovery calls with potential clients looking to hire OBMs, I always ask myself the question in my mind when I'm talking to people, is she trying to scale herself into her business or out of her business? So most of the time, people are trying to scale themselves out of their business. So when I work with entrepreneurs, they're usually wearing 800 hats. I lovingly refer to our clients as successful despite themselves because they're often very visionary. They're unhinged. They're doing 8 million quadrillion things. And quite honestly, they're not good at all the things they do. But in order to sleep at night and wake up in the morning, they have to convince themselves that they are. So I think the first thing is kind of getting clear on where are your shortcomings as an entrepreneur? Meaning, what do you like? It's not always what you like doing in your business because we don't always like all the things we have to do in our business, but what are the things that you have to do in your business?
Yeah.
So, for example, a web developer, it might be you having those onboarding calls where you are doing the ideation, vision type stuff with your clients, but you certainly don't have to actually do the implementation. You probably don't even need to do the sales calls per se. So, when you start to think about, well, what is going to free up my time? It's very unique to every client. So, one of the first things that I teach my online business managers to do is to audit. So, we do a time audit of all the team members, where's your time? And it really is mostly around the entrepreneur, kind of the CEO. Like, where's all your time going? Oh, you're spending time. Like, so for me, I use Entreport. That is my CRM drug of choice. And when I'm feeling stressed out or out of control, I will just play in automation land for like hours. So we all have our procrastination of choice. And so I think it's also about somebody from the outside kind of calling you out on, okay, you're spending way too much time. Like, you don't need to be the one setting up the automations. You don't need to be the one managing client care. So yes, you could do all of these things, but we're trying to scale you out of the business because when the entrepreneur sits on top in their zone of genius, then they can focus on the things that only they can do in the business. And that is ultimately how an OBM impacts the bottom line because the transformation is time. When our clients get back more time, when they use that time wisely, they can X their revenue or X their quality of life or whatever. And that to me is scaling out of the business. That the business isn't relying entirely on me, that it's relying more on the systems that we've put in place to keep it moving along nicely.
If you ever feel like you're on the Price is Right when pricing your web design proposals, just trying to guess the highest number that they'll say yes to without going over, I've got just the thing for you. Go to webdesigneracademy.com/proposal to get a free training where I break down the 5 subtle proposal mistakes even experienced web designers make that have them leaving literally thousands of dollars on the table, and find out what to do differently so that you can charge 2 to 3 times more for work you're already doing. To get your hands on that free training, just go to webdesigneracademy.com/proposal, enter your name and email address, and I'll send you all the details. That's webdesigneracademy.com/proposal. I think that's so beautiful. And I've never really thought about scaling and like the way that you just said it. And it's empowering the business to not depend on you to operate, to be
On you,
healthy,
the CEO, to operate.
on you, the CEO, to do its job. Its job is to serve the clients, and like its job is to deliver whatever you built it to deliver. And that's not your job as the CEO. Like, I'm just like, oh, my job as the CEO is to give the business what the business needs to be healthy. And the business does not need me to have my hands in every single little thing to be healthy. In fact, that's the biggest risk.
Yes.
It's the biggest risk to everybody.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it's so funny. This is why I love talking to you, because it makes me remember a lot of these core principles. And I'm like, yes, damn straight. And so much so that when we do that time audit, so I always ask my clients, I'm like, just, because people don't know what they do day to day. I do 800 things. So keep a little note next to you and start writing down what it is that you're doing daily. And then at the end of 2 weeks or at the end of the week, look at that list and circle the things that need to be only done by you. And that is a real exercise in scalability and scaling yourself up, because you will quickly realize that, oh, all this stuff on my plate is fine and dandy, but I don't need to be doing half of it. And also, this half of it takes me 20 hours a month. With those 20 hours, I could go to conferences. Like, when we go to a conference, it's the same for OBMs. You land like 100 clients. So why are you sitting at home actually putzing over client care emails or whatever the hell you're procrastinating on when you could be going and getting your butt to that networking event?
Yeah.
Or that digital marketing conference?
Oh my goodness. Yes. That's the thing, right? Because it's like, oh, if you really mean it, if you really want to scale, if you really want to take yourself out of these things to go do the things that are going to bring you more clients, are you just staying in procrastination land because that feels good and safe and that's what you're used to?
It feels good. It's
Because
safe.
it's uncomfortable to go meet 50 new people at a networking event, which is just going to instantly, as we all know, like it just turns into clients when you put yourself out there like that.
Absolutely. That is so, so, so true, Shannon. So it's like you can putz with all these little things that you want to get done in your business, but really where the hard work pays off. And that's why when I'm talking to a potential OBM client, my green flag for them is if they know the value of their time. Like if I say to them, hey, if you had another 5 hours in your week, what would be the thing that you would do that would get you more revenue, get you whatever that is? And if they can't answer me, or they like doing, sometimes they like doing the admin, but it's like not a good use of your time. Like when I had a landscaping company back before I was like in OBM land back in 2006, I used to do my bookkeeping because I really enjoyed I don't want to say mind numbing. I hope there are no bookkeepers that I'm offending here, but I liked that like cathartic, mind numbing, like turn my brain off and just implement
That's
things.
what web design is like.
Yeah.
When
but
it's like playing a video game sometimes where you're just like, if I ever, back in the day when we had like Nintendo, that's how old I am. I was like the first Nintendo. But yeah, exactly. It's just like, you don't need to think if it's a skill that you like, if you're experienced, you're just like in the zone and you can just like zone out. and
You
do
zone
nothing.
out. Yes.
Yeah.
But I knew that that was not a good use of my time. So in my OBM business, obviously, I didn't make that same mistake. I have a nice accountant and a nice bookkeeper, definitely. But I think a lot of us really like to be in the details because it makes us feel productive. It makes us feel like we're almost saving money. But look, you're
Mm-hmm.
saving money in your business
At
at
what
what
cost?
expense? Yeah, at
Yeah.
what so I think that when you are scaling your business, you need to take a good hard look at what's the best use of your time. If you were to focus on what you were good at, what would those things be? And
Mm-hmm.
it's not always things that you like. Like, I don't like doing the sales calls and doing the hustle and the networking, but you can't hire people. And sales and marketing are always the last things to come off of people's plates for the very reason that they're usually the things that the solopreneur or the growing entrepreneur need to be responsible for.
I would love to talk about slowing down to speed up.
Mm.
How does someone asking for a friend who's a type A control freak, how does that person, I think like the challenge I continue to run into is that I'm always out in front of everybody else. And also, I notice myself being unwilling to like pause anything that we're doing. It's like, oh, train's on the tracks, full of steam ahead. So there's no slowing down to speed up. And then I
Yeah.
never really let anybody else get ahead of me. And
Yeah.
so then it feels a little frustrating to delegate because it's like, I can't let someone get ahead for me to be able to equip them to do the job. And then the timelines get too tight. And then I'm just like,
Mhm.
why am I not giving myself the space to make this change as if this change could happen on a dime with nothing else changing?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think that this is like obviously a very typical predicament. And I think that this is a result of what you just explained to me was a scenario where I'm delegating to various contractors different things, right? And I'm the one who's in the OBM role in my business.
Yes,
And
I'm not.
not good at it. You are very good at it, Shannon. But the thing
I
that
don't
starts
think I
you're so funny. You are.
am.
You really are. But what starts to happen is you're managing
Mhm.
people, managing the bits and people doing the things is like it's a job.
Yeah.
It's a job. So the first thing, so when I say slow down to speed up, the first thing is capturing what is recurring in the business.
Yeah.
So obviously being a web designer is a very creative jam. So how do you capture what I do as a web developer? It's more of like the logistics around delivering things. So
Yeah.
how do we like our websites delivered? In what format? And what format are our graphics? How do we onboard and offboard clients? So when you slow down, you're first looking, and an OBM can help you do this. But if you don't want to do that, you look at your own stuff and you be your own best OBM and you're like, what are the things that recur? That goes back to your time audit. What's recurring in my business and what can be fully handed off to somebody else on my team? So if it's like onboarding and offboarding new clients or reporting, like these are things that happen in a very standardized way. It's not like what you were just mentioning, which is like, I have all of these great strategies and tactics that I want to like roll out in my business. Like when you automate and delegate the recurring stuff, you have more time to
Yeah.
play in the zone of like, and I would never take that away from an entrepreneur. I think that you have to know that that is your sweet spot. And a lot of these qualities that you think, oh, I'm always ahead of my team or I'm always like driving the force. Like, it's those qualities that when you really think about it are your best qualities. That is what makes you successful. So it's just about recognizing the double-edged sword and kind of being able to keep yourself in the middle. And so what does it mean to keep yourself in the middle of the double-edged sword and not sort of veer to like the extremes of your
Mhm.
qualities is by hiring somebody that can wrangle you. So an OBM can help you systematize and get those SOPs in place to deal with the recurring audit. But then you have this other elephant in the room that you're talking about. And that's like, what about all my internal projects and my strategies and my fun that I want to have with this? So a good OBM that's been trained in OBM school will take out their whip and they will crack it. And from the get-go, they will say to you, Shannon, I'm going to take you on this journey where I'm going to create a 3-month, 90-day plan for these big goals that you want to roll out. And I find with visionary entrepreneurs, and I do sometimes find myself floating into this category of all very rarely, I find that sometimes I want to do all of these things and I want all these things to roll out in my life. And what I find is that an OBM will say, okay, Shannon, these are the top goals for 2026. Now let's put them into a 90-day plan so that we can actually make it happen. And what happens is that when you start to veer off into la la land, or suddenly you're like, oh, Sally's using this new AI tool and it's going to make videos so much easier for your clients. A good OBM will be like, I hear you, Shannon. I'm putting that on our list of bucket items, but I'm going to refocus your attention on the 3 goals that we set forth this month so that shit actually gets done.
Yeah.
So it's not so much about you not being creative and visionary. It's just about somebody being a mirror and reflecting back. Okay, that's great. Shannon, you want to move that up to next month? That's fine. So we'll push this project out. And so the OBM is getting one step ahead of you. So you mentioned, like, I always feel like I'm 10 steps ahead, because when you don't have systems in place and when you don't have a dedicated role to somebody who's like manning the fort, things get very chaotic and you end up being in a very reactionary mode. It's okay because many businesses thrive and survive and live in that kind of climate. But it's so much better when you have somebody that's like wrangling all the projects and sort of then keeping you accountable to what you said you wanted to do so that you can be 10 steps ahead, but the whole team is on that same 10 steps ahead project.
Yeah. That's such a beautiful personality trait of an OBM, that they can come in and crack the whip and like be loyal to the project plan and the business and maintain that while still allowing the visionary to be the visionary. But
Yeah.
like, yeah,
I always tell my OBMs that like the client is not your client, the business is your client. So
that's
what
so
are we
beautiful.
doing that's in the best interest of the business? Because a lot of the times, like, look, we're humans. We like to self-sabotage. We like to like have bright, shiny object syndrome. When you don't have someone on your team that is, thinking about the vision and the goals and the big picture, yeah, I mean, you're like, oh, suddenly you get the team to shift from X to Y. And like suddenly they're all scrambling to like set up this new AI tool that has no bearings on anything in your business. And you've just wasted a whole slew of time getting your team to do X, Y, and Z that really wasn't necessary. And that's where it can be very harmful. I mean, it depends on your, different strokes for different folks. Like people are very different and you might be honest with yourself or not honest with yourself, but there will come a time in every growing business where you have to hire someone to manage things.
Yeah.
It's natural. And
Yeah.
also, you can decide in your business that, I mean, the other thing that I have to say here is like, I have no problem with clients being the OBM in their business. I think the problem starts to be when they're not a good OBM. They're not practicing good project management hygiene, or they're not actually following up and finishing their overdue tasks because they're not even using a project management tool. Like my visionary clients, they don't even want to be in the project management tool. And it's a problem.
Yeah.
It's a big problem.
Yeah. And I think also, even if you are a quote unquote good OBM in your business, there comes a point, like you've said, that role is costing you. Staying in
Yes.
that role is
Costing you.
way
It's
more
right.
than it would cost you to
Hire somebody
hire
to
an
support
OBM.
you and
Yeah.
have that sounding board. I think that is like the misconception of like when you work your 9 to 5, having that comfort of the salary, of that paycheck every month. It's a similar feeling. It's just a comfort zone thing. Part of you knows that you can leave that corporate job behind and make more money, just like part of you knows that you'll make more money if you hire somebody to manage the things in your business that you suck at. And you'll be happier, they'll be happy, you're happy, the team. So that's the other thing. Like I always tell my OBMs this, I don't tell the clients this, but I was like, you're like a buffer. You're a buffer between this crazy visionary entrepreneur and the rest of the team that are like shaking in their boots. They're shaking in their boots because everyone's in reactionary mode because there's no system set up. The OBM comes in and they're like, here's your role, here's your role. All the tasks are in the project management tool. Great. The business can run on systems. And if so-and-so is sick or Sally needs to go, we can bring in somebody else to do that because we know where all the tasks are going and who they're attributed to. So that makes for such a more solid and stable kind of business. And it's just feels, I don't know why it feels so counterintuitive, just like it does when you're leaving your corporate job. Like, I think back to when I was in corporate, like investing in the OBM certification back in, I don't even know, 2011 or whatever, like thinking to myself, like, oh, is this going to work? And like, in retrospect, I was like, what was I on? Like, what was I processing in my brain that was so counterintuitive and contrary to what was actually happening? Like, it's bananas to me. So it's, again, we like to be in this comfort zone. And also I think I know myself, like, unless I'm like, sweating adrenaline and like chalked up on coffee and like going a million miles an hour, sometimes I don't feel like I'm working hard enough and I don't deserve what I'm earning. It's such a cuckoo way. It's such a strange mindset that I grew up in, work, work, work. With hard work comes reward. It's like, no, I mean, I do my hard work, yes, but I can delegate the things that aren't falling into my spectrum. So I think it really helps to have a coach or a mastermind or people that can kind of point you out on your BS, which is hard because a lot of us solopreneurs are very isolated.
Yeah.
So isolated.
You said that like raised to just work really hard to earn what you have and like all of that. I was talking to another one of my coaching clients and she was like, I just feel like I'm cheating if it's easy.
Yeah.
And
I
like, that's a
know.
horrible feeling. And why would you want to feel like you're cheating all the time? Like you're getting away with something.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't even know what to say to that, but it's yes, we are raised to believe that that is the case. But then, when I think about the entrepreneurs focusing on the hard things, so you can always push it more. Like for me, I know it's outside my comfort zone. Like I have to force myself to go to networking events and I do. That is hard work for me. That is not sitting back. So there's always things that I can do. Or maybe it would be like, one of my goals eventually is to do more speaking gigs, like totally outside of my comfort zone, and just kind of working towards these things. And then again, just, yes, there are good days and bad days. There are days where I'm like, yeah, I'm like making money and I'm like, can take over the world. And there are days where I feel like a bag of S and I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, why did I even bother getting out of bed today? I think if you called her today, I wonder what she's thinking now. Is she still in that frame of mind? I don't know, because it's like a roller coaster. But it also is helpful when you have, like you brought it up also, like an OBM is a sounding board. An OBM is somebody that cracks the whip. I hear this all the time from my clients. Like, I want somebody who can come in and just kind of tell me what to do, but own it, own the role. Yeah. And that is what I transfer on to my OBM students. But also, I think for anyone listening here that's like, what is this going to look like for me? When you work with the right person, it's going to look like you're being taken on a journey and not the other way around. With the right OBM and the right personality match. And when I do I do a lot of matchmaking inside of OBM School. And when I match OBMs with their clients, I am really thinking about personality big time.
Yeah. I just received feedback recently from a woman that I'm in a mastermind. We're in a mastermind together. And she was like, you don't allow people to be proactive for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, thank you for that, because I think for whatever reason, it's a blind spot for me, or like a self-protective thing or whatever it is, where I'm like, no, it's my job to make sure everybody else has what they need to help me.
Yeah, because you're like that savior complex.
Yeah. And so to allow someone to just come in and take me by the hand and lead me is like, what is this sorcery? Like, this is uncomfortable. This is not like... So it's just interesting to think that, like, my mind says bringing on an OBM would be more work.
My mindset is, yes.
My mind says, oh, bringing on an OBM would be one more person to be responsible for it. That's wrong.
It is. And I can understand that, because I always tell my OBM, the clients that want to work with OBMs, is that it's going to be hard before it gets easier
Yeah.
because you're in reactionary mode for a
Yep.
reason. So when the OBMs come in, they're systematizing, they're working with your team. It's like they're slowly streamlining things and they're getting ahead of the project. So one of the really big things that so if I have an OBM that I'm coaching or working with and they're like, yeah, I have a 30-hour retainer. I just don't get to the end of the 30 hours every month. I'm like, how is that possible? Like there are 8 million things to do in a business. It's likely because you're not clear on the client's goals and their vision. So when you can find an OBM or integrator, DOO, whatever synonym you want to use, when you find that person, you have to open up your heart around your vision, around your goals. And it requires you to do some planning, to do some annual plan. And I know you are so big on annual planning, but you share your annual plans, you share your quarterly goals. And then you have someone on your team who can get proactive because they're in
Yeah.
the know. So I
Yeah.
would imagine that a lot of the people on your team and on anyone's team, they're just doers. They're like implementers. They don't need to know what the big picture vision is. They don't know what the goals are per se. You're the only one who's holding that card. And that is when it starts to be also a liability because can you go on vacation like that? Probably not. Can you afford to like leave for a couple weeks? Probably not. And that also has a price. You know, like if I want to, we take off for pretty much all of August. Like if I don't have OBMs on my team, who's manning the fort?
Yeah.
You know, it's part of a rite of passage to, again, scaling yourself out of your business because you're not the only one who is in the know of all the ideas. And it's not like, I mean, yes, there are a lot of ideas, and I can imagine what it looks like in your business because I've known you for long enough to know that you are very creative and very insightful and very in the know on tech and things that are changing in the industry. Yeah, it can make you crazy. But if you have the right OBM who's like, wait a second, Shannon, you want to do this? It doesn't meet the criteria for Q1 goals. This doesn't fall into these 3 goals and 3 strategies and a number of tactics that we've already laid out. So that's what I mean when it's cracking the whip. It's an OBM that can speak up and raise a hand and say, just putting this back in your face that you said X, Y, and Z. And then you're like, oh, I did say that. I literally plumb forgot, you know? I think because we're visionary, sometimes we're like, we're operating on these like on our own cylinders that are just disconnected sometimes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. This has been so good. What are some other things that you tell your OBMs about how to interact with their clients?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is I find that my OBMs, they have a very high level of emotional intelligence and empathy. So I really try to be very, very blunt. And I'm like, your clients that you will work with are very visionary and have just like all entrepreneurs, we have our moments where we're not shining stars. Like that's the other thing, you know, being empathetic to the things like, you know, entrepreneurship is a personal growth journey for all of us.
Yes.
And they know that too. So I think just know that if you do want to hire an OBM, that they will be very much aware of the fact that you're working your ass off to make your business work. They're very like compassionate and considerate about those things. But just with regards to like what I tell my OBMs, like I'm thinking of our manifesto, you know, leave the business better off, leave with systems. Delegation is a muscle that you're constantly flexing. Like, so you as the business owner need to flex that delegation muscle, but that's a big thing that OBMs are flexing all the time. Like we have X amount of resources. What's the best way to utilize these resources? So that's a big one that we talk about, having your own systems in place, like any kind of business. And I think with which reminds me that I wanted to share with your community our SOP kit. So if you guys want to go over to obmschool.com/Shannon, we have an SOP kit. So this is actually the template that I give my OBMs to create systems in other people's businesses and in their businesses. But I find that if you are wanting to scale team, you can do this time audit. You can sit down for the next couple of weeks with a piece of paper next to you and just write down what you're working on. And then at the end of that time period, circle the things that only you can do in your business. And then everything else, if it's recurring, is fair game for delegation. And that is a muscle that you start flexing by creating a screencast where you document how you're doing those things. And then you can delegate a standardized way of doing something in your business. And slowly but surely, those things will start to come off and you will feel a breath of fresh air because your business isn't reliant on the people per se, the contractors or anybody, or you included, but it's hinging on these systems that you're putting in place that can be scaled as well and streamlined and further automated. So I think that starting with systems and creating a vault in Google Drive where you can have your team log in and understand what it is that they need to do is real, and having for the love of all things. I mean, your people have project management tools. I mean, I can't imagine how a web designer functions without a project management tool.
I think the moral of the story here for our listeners, and especially for the women inside of the Web Designer Academy already or Next Level Mastermind, and for those of you listening who aren't inside yet, like, let people help you.
Yeah.
Like, just let people help you. You do not have to do it all on your own. It's not all on you. There are people out there who would love to help you.
I have a whole directory of them.
You have a whole directory of them. And just like you create revenue generating assets for your clients when you build them a website, an OBM coming into your business will empower you to create more. So look at it as an addition instead of a subtraction and give yourself the support. So where can everybody go to look at the directory, get a matchmaker session set up, and all of the things?
Yeah. So first off, head on over to obmschool.com/Shannon to get that beautiful SOP kit that we've created for you guys. And if you are interested in matchmaking, it's actually my sarahNoked.com website. So you can go to sarahNoked.com/services. You can see our directory there, or you can even go to obmschool.com/directory. We have a number of different ways to get to all of our beautiful students that have gone through the certification program that are accredited. So these are individuals where I have literally walked them through a series of projects that I have evaluated. They have simulated what it's like to be a high functioning OBM on various types of projects. So these are experienced, really heart-centered, service-based online business managers who are really chomping at the bit to work with really good clients like agencies and designers, just the people in your space.
I'll link all of that up in the show notes. So, Sarah, thank you so much for coming back on the show. It's always so fun. Our hour together goes by so fast.
It's always like that. And I really cherish our friendship. And I just think you are solid and do such good things for your community. And I would be honored, if anyone wants to just reach out to me, or because I know sometimes you're like, am I a good fit? Am I not a good fit? Like I do all the discovery calls when I match my clients with other clients, my OBMs with clients. So don't be shy. Hit me up. I'm happy to share my experience with you guys, especially your community.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here, and we'll see everyone back here next week. Bye, everyone. Hey, so before you go, if you're an experienced woman web designer who's outgrown all the beginner business growth strategies and you're looking for real support to help you make the money that you really want to be making, I'd love for you to come and check out the Web Designer Academy and see how we do things differently. Just go to webdesigneracademy.com/tour and fill out the form to schedule your program tour. You'll get to sit in on one of our live group coaching calls, meet the other women inside of the program, and afterwards, I'll share options for working together in 2026. So if you're done figuring it all out on your own and you're looking for support, I can't wait to meet you. Schedule your program tour today at webdesigneracademy.com/tour. That's webdesigneracademy.com/TOUR tour.
This podcast is part of the Sound Advice FM network. Sound Advice FM, women's voices amplified.